Yeah. You see, I need to build up so that I can get to the topic actually.
Mm-hmm.
I felt everything is linked at the end of the day. It's actually linked to the energy system. So, yeah.
Actually, yesterday, me and my student, this one, we had a class, a virtual class with Professor Kuo Chahua from Taipei, and he was talking about the hemoglobin and myoglobin and related to oxygen consumption as well. So what you are giving us today and also what we had yesterday with Dr. Kuo was completely link each other, and this is
Yeah.
really good. What is it? Fundamental for the student.
Yeah. Yeah. So now I'm linking it all the way from his into the mitochondria.
Mm-hmm. So this is far back a moment. Can you see something on your screen?
Yes, I can.
Eh, um, I think we are here on the on this one, right?
Yep. Oh no.
The previous, yeah.
And I think previous one. I will skip some. Yeah, one more. Just one more. I'll try to do it here. Yeah. Okay. This is good. Thank you. All right. So like I said, if we are training muscular endurance, which is number two, you actually are training for recruitment of type 1 fibers. If you are training number four, you are actually training to recruit type 2 fibers. Now, so if we link this one back to what I was discussing earlier about energy system, you're going to see that if we, as long as we are doing something and we know that we are doing it for endurance, we will be focusing on the fiber type. So which means that even though you think that, oh, I'm strength training is resistance training. When I do resistance training, what's the difference between resistance training and the energy? But they are the same. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether you're doing resistance training or actually those are what cyclical. At the end of the bottom line is this: whatever activity we are doing, which energy system are we focused on? So if we focus mostly on type 1, we are likely to be doing mostly endurance. If we are focusing on type 2, we are likely trying to build the muscle fiber, then we are actually doing more towards what we call the building of muscle fiber. Okay, right? So can we go to the next slide? Thank you. All right. So now, just again, whether you are training, now this is if you are doing resistance training, okay? If you train with very, very heavy loads, with loads that you can only lift 4 to 8 times, we call it 4 to 8 RM, you are focusing on strength. And the outcome is you're going to get strong, right? If you're focusing on things that are between 15 to 25 RM, even 30 to 15 RM and more, these are all some form of endurance, right? So when you're doing repetitions that are very few, if you look at this, what does it improve? It actually improves your ability to use the ATP PC system, and then the connective tissue. And by doing this, what you're actually going to do is you're going to build the actin and the myosin fibers. They get stronger, right? And you're going to build on the brain calling up the fibers to make the motor neurons able to call many motor fibers. That's what they mean. They make you do that better, but it doesn't help you improve oxygen intake into the mitochondria. But if you do many repetitions with lighter loads, the heavy loads may give you some building of actin and myosin, and you may get some contractile, those proteins might build on those fibers, but you're mostly building oxygen intake into the mitochondria. So my point here is heavier loads to develop strength, lighter loads to develop endurance. So endurance means that when you do lighter loads, you're going back to the similar training to the energy system for endurance, which is the aerobic system. But when you're training the heavy loads, you're building your protein fibers, but you're also building the energy system, but the anaerobic one. So it doesn't matter whether you are. So you see, the topic today says the effectiveness of aerobic, the difference in effectiveness. You're comparing aerobic with resistance. The comparison is actually not so much the activity. It doesn't really matter what activity you do, but you just need to understand which energy system is being utilized more during that activity. Okay, so let's carry on for a while. Let's carry on. Next slide. Okay, so if we look at what I just said, if you look at the second bullet, higher intensity means heavier loads will develop maximum strength. It will increase the size of your contractile proteins, and it will improve what we call neuromuscular facilitation. It will teach your different muscle groups to call up. You're calling up many motor fibers. You see, like if I don't warm up, I sit here, and my dear friend Ali gives me a very heavy parcel, and it arrives, and I have to lift it up. If I don't warm up, I will not call enough muscle fibers, and I find it very heavy. But if I warm up, I keep learning, and I keep calling, I'll have many motor units coming in. That is called neuromuscular facilitation. Those things have to be learned. You have to learn to call muscles. I call it, in Malay, we call it actually panggil askar. You know, all your muscle fibers are like your soldiers. You need to learn how to call them. You have 1,000 of them in front, your 1,000 units in front of you. But if you didn't train, you could only call like maybe half of them. When you call half of them, you're not maximizing your strength, right? So when you train with very heavy loads, you're teaching your brain to call up as many motor units as you can. So training with heavy loads, heavy intensities, makes you build your fibers. Your actin and myosin become thicker. At the same time, you learn to call many motor units. But when you train with very light loads, it actually improves your muscular endurance because you're calling up your type 1 fibers. If you remember, your type 1 fibers are not very big. And they are only very good in what? They have many mitochondria. So when you call up, when you do muscular endurance, you are actually improving aerobic enzymes and have larger and more mitochondria. So if you go and train running, you are also doing it's similar to muscular endurance because you are going to call up aerobic enzyme, you're going to have more mitochondria and more capillaries. You have better oxygen utilization and delivery within those muscles. Okay? So now if you lift a weight and you repeat repetition to fatigue, you repeat until you can't do anymore, it will stimulate your muscle fiber to make use of oxygen and aerobic enzymes better to produce ATP and sustain those muscle contractions. Okay? Performing many repetitions trains the body to use fat as a source of energy. So my point exactly, it doesn't matter whether you're using resistance training, it doesn't matter that you are using some form of, I will call cyclical activity. Cyclical activity doesn't mean cycling. It just means that you repeat those actions many times, like running, swimming, it can be rowing. Now, those activities are actually doing a lot of muscular endurance, but they are doing it throughout the body. All right? So that's the difference, a little bit of difference with resistance training only. Next slide. Let's just see a few more. Just a little bit more. Okay, so high resistance load, heavy load, you cannot do many repetitions. Low loads, you can do many repetitions. So I already said, heavy loads, you increase the size of the protein. You toughen your tendons and your ligaments. You reduce the inhibition. What that means is you're able to call many motor units. Okay, you can contract very efficiently. Maybe increase in number of muscle fibers. All right, but your muscle fiber size definitely becomes larger. But if you train with low loads, you will improve the aerobic enzymes. You will increase the mitochondrial density. You increase capillaries. They also have better efficiency, but down here, I forgot about the fat usage. Okay, so possible fiber change. Fiber change from what? Type 2X, the muscle man becomes type 2A. So they become more aerobic. Okay, all right, next slide. Next slide, please. Thanks. Okay, so now when we want to improve muscle fitness, we use resistance training. Okay, now resistance training is any type of training that causes muscles to contract against a body weight, dumbbells, barbells, machines. It's supposed to help you improve maximal strength, power, hypertrophy, endurance. I think the only confusion down here is aerobic training and resistance training. What is the difference in adaptation? The only intersection point here I see is aerobic endurance, energy system endurance, and muscle endurance. This is the only cross point. Because when you train for strength, power, and hypertrophy, you're looking at the actual, I would say, structural property of the muscle. But once you train for endurance, you're looking at the mitochondrial side. All right? So that's the only overlap between, I say, energy system training, aerobic training, together with muscle endurance training. Okay? So this part here, I feel I shouldn't touch, because this part here, I don't have to. I'm sure you can do it later if you want to. Types of training that we use. Can you go to the next few slides? We do it quite quickly. All right? So this is common. Static, hold the position. Okay? Next slide, please. Next slide. Dynamic. Dynamic is the one we want to look at. So dynamic is the one where you can do a lot of muscle endurance. Okay? So you see, you can use your body weight. You can use dumbbells. Okay? Next. Machines. All right? Machines. These are all dynamic. Okay? Next. Yeah. Stability balls. All right? Train your core, medicine balls. Okay? Next. This is isokinetic. All right, isokinetic machines. I'm not going to teach what this is about. Okay. All right. Next. Okay. Now, how does resistance? Okay. Now this is I'm not sure which one came first. This one or the other. Okay. Is there a previous one? Can you
this
go back one?
This one is coming first.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. So when you do resistance training, how does it change muscle? Right. Resistance training, you will improve strength as long as the load is 60%, 65% and above of your maximum. That will start improving already. So what will change? What will help you change? Contraction time. How long you make your muscle hold. Okay, how many repetitions you do? How many sets do you do? What is the load you lift? All right. So this is how it makes your muscle change. But both slow twitch and fast twitch fibers will grow bigger, but the fast twitch fibers will hypertrophy more. Slow twitch fibers hypertrophy, but it will not convert and become large like fast twitch. It will not become anaerobic. It will maintain its aerobic ability. Okay, this is the one I said. There is some research showing that if you do a lot of aerobic training, if you do a lot of aerobic energy, slow run, not slow. If you run and train your energy system for the aerobic system more, your type 2X, your larger size fibers may become more like type 2A, especially the part where the mitochondria is become more aerobic. Now this seems to happen. Okay, next slide. Now so now how do we differentiate aerobic endurance with muscular endurance? Actually, the story is, it's not different. Everything we do with the energy system at the beginning of the slide, the lecture, I already said, every muscle contraction is the same. Whatever type of training you do, it is the same. So it is the activity we do. So when we move small muscles consistently, okay, so now muscles contract. The only difference is, do we move many muscles or we move very few muscles? So if we hold a little dumbbell, a 1 kg dumbbell, or you hold a tennis ball and you squeeze You squeeze the tennis ball, all right? So when you squeeze the tennis ball, it will develop those muscles in your arm and your fingers. But you're not going to get the development to your muscle system, your energy system, your aerobic system, your cardiorespiratory system will not be developed. Why? Because we do not need that much ATP. All right? But if you imagine you are doing star jump, burpee, all right? And then after star jump burpee, you move to another thing. Now, those move many muscles, and you could do it for quite a long time. Now, we do many exercises, like nowadays, we do circuit training. Now, that will impose a stress on your energy system. Now, that will also develop your cardiorespiratory system. So now, when you train for muscular endurance and it's small muscles, it's localized. There is little transfer to your cardiorespiratory system. All right, unless, like I say, you do big body movements, a big muscle group movements like burpees, jumping jacks, right? But when you train cardiorespiratory endurance, aerobic endurance, you are jogging. But when you jog, you use the entire body. There are many muscle groups involved. So this will bring a lot of transfer to your not only to your cardio system, but it will transfer to the muscles of the legs, because you use those muscles repeatedly. So there is a bigger transfer. If you do aerobic training, it will transfer to muscular endurance. But if you do muscular endurance for small muscles, there's very little transfer to the cardiorespiratory system. Okay, so next slide. The next slide will explain this better. So repetitive, when you do repetitive contractions for muscular endurance, but they involve many muscle groups, then they require a continuous supply of energy, right? From type 1, type 2A. So you enhance also aerobic enzymes, mitochondria, and your fuel. But when you do just for your small muscle group, all right, or from strength, if you're doing for strength, you lift a few repetitions. You will focus mostly on type 2 and type 2X. All right, type 2A, type 2X, but mostly type 2X. It will just make your muscles bigger. You'll make your tendons stronger. So there's not a lot of transfer to the energy system. Okay, next slide. So what's the difference between aerobic and resistance training? I think number one, let's sort out the terms. Aerobic training, I don't use it so often. I call it energy system training, but it emphasizes the oxidative phosphorylation system. All of your students in front of me, all you guys, you're going to be an expert. You're going to be a fitness trainer. You're going to be an instructor. You need to know the terms properly. Aerobic training, that's for laymen, because laymen cannot tell the difference between aerobic training and aerobic dancing. You see the confusion here. So we don't use aerobic training. So we will say energy system training. Do we emphasize the anaerobic system or the aerobic system? Aerobic system for us is the energy system, right? But resistance training is anything that we put a load on to contract against. It can even be our own body weight, all right? So first of all, let's get the terminology straight. Number two, let's look at the effects of any physical training. It doesn't matter what training you do. Resistance training or energy system training, you are utilizing energy system. You are making muscle contract. But when you train, what do you emphasize? Whatever energy system you emphasize, the difference is intensity and duration. All right? Next slide, please. Now, physical training can use many types of training. Like I said, you can do continuously, running, swimming, cycling. We call those cyclic activities. You can do interval training with cyclic activities, or interval training with body weight exercise, or interval training with holding weights. Okay, and resistance training, you can use body weight, free weights, machines. So physical training, physical conditioning uses any of this. It's not the activity you perform, but what is the intensity and the volume that determines which energy transfer, which energy system is the one you're most using. So if you use the aerobic energy system, you are going to change your mitochondria. You're going to focus on the oxygen transport system. You're going to look at adaptations from using light loads for many repetitions. All of this will change the mitochondria. So resistance training with light loads can also be aerobic. can focus on aerobic system. But resistance with heavy loads, what will happen? You will produce skeletal muscle hypertrophy. You will be able to call up many motor units. All right. You can improve strength, power, depending on repetition, sets, and loads. Okay. Next one. Next slide. Thank you. Now, so bumper has a very useful judo bumper. All right, judo bumper, bumper and half. He has a book called Methodology of Training, Theory and Methodology of Training. But his 2009 edition, he wrote with Gregory Half. But he has a newest edition. Ali, you can find it online. Try to find it online. It's a 2019 version. Okay, and in it, he calls it. He summarizes training, interval training, into low intensity exercise endurance or high intensity exercise endurance. So meaning that you lift, you use very light training, light intensity, but you carry on for a long time. High intensity is heavier, but you also do it repeatedly, interval training style. Okay, so these two will emphasize different energy systems. Okay, so sorry, am I done? I'm not sure how many slides I have. Do I have any more slides? Okay, yeah, I do. I just want to say, so if you use the low intensity exercise endurance, you are doing activities that rely predominantly on the aerobic or oxidative system. So resistance with training like light loads are also here. Running, cycling, repeated intervals with running, cycling is also here. It's also called aerobic endurance, but the production of power is very low. So you can do it for a long time, perform at low intensity for substantial duration. So if you develop this, right, when we develop LIEE, low intensity aerobic endurance, your muscle power, those that lift, those people who need anaerobic power, they will suffer. Type 2 muscles will suffer. Okay, can we go to the next one? The next one is high intensity exercise endurance. Now, this is where you do like interval training, but high intensity, many repetitions, but for short duration. Now, this one relies on anaerobic metabolism. Now, when you have sports that require high power output, right, at high velocity, like we do resistance training with heavier loads, that will fit here, yeah? It does not seem to reduce your power and strength. It also helps with force development. You can move quickly. But, you know, do you notice they call it HIIT? HIIT is focusing on high intensity exercise endurance. It will still improve your cardiovascular endurance. You see, surprisingly, people who do HIIT, they still keep their power and their muscle. But at the same time, their low intensity endurance is still there. Okay, so HIIT, by doing it, you can improve both the high power strength and power, but at the same time, you can also improve your aerobic power, right? But the only thing we need to just understand is HIEE or your HIIT type circuit training type. Don't do too many times in 1 week. It's really quite strenuous. And I like to go back to LIEE. Please do not, encourage people. We still need LSD, long slow distance. A lot of people don't like that. We still need endurance run. Why? Because when you run slowly, what you're doing is you're opening capillaries that have long not been used. You know, we say increase capillaries, but when you do HIEE, it is high push power, but it doesn't go into those little capillaries. So for me, my suggestion is to do both. When you do both, you get the effects for power, strength, you get the effects also for your low intensity cardio. And best of all, low intensity cardiorespiratory endurance, Ali, my friend,
yeah,
it is supposed to keep away elder people diseases and dementia, such as Alzheimer's. Current research looks like it's good because the blood flow to the brain, it seems it keeps the brain strength, the brain weight, and it's supposed to be able to keep away Alzheimer's. Okay, so I think if we can summarize that, that will be the last slide. I think summary. Do we have? Yes. So
So this is the
let's
last
not,
slide. Yeah.
yeah. So let's not care whether we call it aerobic or resistance training. At the end of the day, what we need to do is to focus on that activity is done at what intensity and how long, how many repetitions, which energy system is being trained. And then from that, that's how we determine the adaptations and the effects. Okay, so with that, thank you very much. I know it's been a very long lecture. Thank you for being so patient.
Wow. Wow. Oh my God. So I would like to say what you are giving to us today was amazing. And to be honest, I did upgrade some knowledge from you. And I am personally tend to be the LIEE funds because I do not like to do hits. I don't know. I do not want to be like really big bodybuilder, but I
Yeah,
want to be like ideal body weight, but have a endurance.
yes.
Wow, very good. Thank you so much. And let me check the chat. Probably we have some questions.
You know, Ali, I'm just wondering, because it's
Yeah.
been so long, you know, it's not easy to jam everybody. I'm okay to have a different session because I know you have all my slides.
Yeah.
And there could be some problems with translation. I remember that.
Yeah.
One way we can look at it is for you to send me those questions later,
Mhm.
and then at the same time we could have another session just for Q&A on this because
Well,
I think
yeah.
I think the students have been with me too long, you
Yeah,
know, for
that's
me.
a good idea. That's a good idea. So probably next week, are you willing to join us again, right? Next week?
Sure,
I mean,
yeah, why
you're
not?
thank you so
No
much.
teaching
So
on that day.
yeah,
No teaching
no,
on that
only
day.
Q and
Just
A.
yeah. Will
Q
that
and
be
A
all right?
session. That will be all right, completely all right. So I think all of my students also they are curious about all the things that you are delivered to them, and me too. And it was good. And for the next meeting, we are only going to have Q&A.
Yeah.
So now you are just pouring all the water. It's just like oceans to them, and
Yeah.
let them to take their time to process and to understand what you are giving to them. And then let's meet again next meeting with Q&A sessions.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, so for the last, I would like to say thank you very much. Thank you very much, and uh, keep safety, keep health,
You
healthy,
too. You
and
too.
yeah, and we
You
will see you again.
next
Yeah,
week.
next.
Okay. All right.
What
Thank
about
you, everyone.
we are meeting earlier, like 1 hour earlier? We start
I'm
at.
okay. I'm
You're
okay.
all right.
Currently, I don't have any issues. I'm okay.
Oh,
But
okay.
maybe you text me a confirm time tomorrow.
Yeah.
Then we'll chat online. Okay.
All right. Sure.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
No
Thank you
worries.
so
Bye
much.
bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye.